Hey, what's up guys, Ryan from Game Explorer, and today I'm going to be doing the second Dungeons & Dragons podcast. Basically, what this one will be about is, for the first time, me and my family tried playing Dungeons & Dragons together. We did have a good time, but there were some moments. First of all, when we start, the characters were my father was playing a human fighter. My grandma was a dwarven cleric, and my grandpa was an elven wizard. And what I had them doing was there was this necromancer, and they had to get an army to defeat him. He had a bunch of other warlocks and sorcerers and all that around the province, and they had to build up an army to defeat him before he enslaved the entire province. And they start out there in their village, and it just got attacked by the necromancer and his soldiers. Well, a necromancer and his soldiers. And my grandma, being a cleric, was in the temple when it started, and there were 4 bandits desecrating it. So the fighter, I'll just refer to them by their class. The fighter goes in and starts attacking, and then the wizard also goes in and starts attacking the bandits. My grandma, or the dwarf, the cleric, whatever, the cleric, not knowing what exactly to do, everyone chose an attack. The fighters was, he started attacking with his battle axe, and the warlock used a fire spell. And then the cleric, not knowing what to do, her attack was Get Mad, in which she rolled her strength high enough, so she pushed one down the stairs, and that forced the other one to topple down with it, and they both landed in one of the fire spells and died. And then they got to the carriage and escaped with 2 other members of the village. And then they get to the next town, and they go into the tavern, and the cleric enters a drinking contest with another dwarf, and after this she won, and so the dwarf stumbled out the door and passed out, and then everyone blacked out and woke up, and when the fighter woke up, the innkeeper told him to get out, so he turned around and killed the innkeeper, and then 3 guards came in to apprehend him, and he killed one of the guards, so they threw him in the dungeon, and the cleric had been captured by some bandits that the necromancer had sent to capture them, and the fighter was in the dungeon, and so the wizard talked them out of talked the guards into letting him out when they gathered the town's militia and some of the guards and went to attack the bandits, and the fighter had lost his wife during that battle, so then they got another ally and they left to go to the next province, which was a destroyed town where they had slaves. All the town was destroyed, and the only members left were the slaves. And there was a warlock there, and the wizard challenged the warlock. The challenge was the winner. If our wizard won, the slaves would get set free, and if the warlock won, then the slaves would remain where they are, and all the members of the town would be killed. So they get into a battle, and the wizard just barely, like, won by a hair's breadth. And So after all that happened, they had the slaves set free, and then they continued on to the next town, which is right before the final battle. They got there, and it was a pretty intense battle, and our cleric was wounded, so she stayed back in the cart and decided to drink all of the ale and wine that was stored on the cart. And so her character is drunk, while the other ones are battling, and they rescued a dog, and they were battling some nature atronachs. And they befriended one of them that wasn't attacking, and then they defeated the warlock that was there, so they moved on to the final battle, which they had used all their... which they were about to take out the necromancer, when the cleric comes up, and the necromancer turns into a what would the creature be called? I don't know what it would exactly be called, but it had 4 arms, and it looked like a xenomorph kind of, and it picked her up and was about to kill her when the cleric that was still drunk projectile vomits in his face, and it knocks it over, and then the cleric falls out, tries to catch herself, and in doing that, gets the axe stuck inside of the necromancer. So then she's passed out. So then the fighter and the wizard go and finish it off. The end prize was the fighter got the heart, which was encased in gold, and infinite wealth. The wizard got infinite knowledge and was crowned ruler of that province. And the cleric got a new axe and a bottomless goblet. And from there on out, they had all lived in wealth and knowledge until they eventually had died. Well, that's going to do it for this video. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Bye, guys.